A few years ago passed away Reb Chaim Greineman. He's one of the biggest Talmidei Chachamim of today. He also was a big expert in Rafua also. On his all his last years, he suffered from very, very serious Yisurim. And they claim, it's a base story, that when Reb Yudah Shapira passed away, he also had a very big Yisurim. He told him, he came to him in his dream, and he told him, in Shamayim, the only way to get along in Shamayim, with all your mitzvahs, is only if you have Yisurim. If you don't have Yisurim, you're in big trouble here. Okay? And basically, there's a very big mashal, a very famous mashal. If someone would be in jail for 27 years, for example, we just had this now, and someone would take him out after 8 years, everyone's reaction was, thank you so much, you'd do everything to thank him. If any one of us would know what's going on in Shamayim, for all the mitzvahs and averos, and we have someone that's saving us. Yisurim is the shaliach v'kadosh baruch hu to save us. Everyone would say, thank you, Yisurim, thank you so much. Everyone knows the famous Gemara that Rabbi Elazar Bar Shimon ben Yochai asked Yisurim, he wanted Yisurim. So to ask Yisurim, this is a high level. Reb Chaim Greineman asked for Yisurim. We're not always on this level. But Avadai, someone gets Yisurim, as the Rav said, this is the best thing. Just say thank you. You're saving me from being in jail for another 11 years, whatever. That's mashal number one. Now, the Rav also mentioned another interesting story here that someone said, please don't treat me. And after they treated him, he said, thank you for treating me. And what happened before? Before I was depressed. This case happens a lot, in a lot of different varieties. Rav Zilberstein said a very, very interesting case a long time ago. There was a sick patient that the doctors said, this patient needs an operation, a very serious, she needs operation immediately. But her mother was there. The mother of the patient was there. Mother said, no, I know this sickness. It's not dangerous. Don't treat her. Doctor said, who are you? She takes out her papers. I'm a head nurse in a very famous hospital. And I know my child, she's okay. She takes some time, will pass. So the question was, should the doctors treat her or not? Okay, the Rav said, you have to ask 3 doctors. The 3 doctors here all say, need an operation, you have to do an operation. After they did operation, they saved her life. What did they discover? That this mother that used to be a head nurse is Meshuggah. She already... So we also have to know, people that are relatives, they look normal, they sound normal. It could be Rabbanim, like the Rav mentioned before. It could be people that look very intelligent. They have very high titles, but you can never know. If we see there's a sakana, so we have to do what's right to do. Now, I want to go to a different case now. Someone needed an operation, a very serious operation, and he had 2 options. He had 2 doctors to go to. One doctor was the best doctor, number 1 in the field. The other doctor was also a very good doctor, but not number 1. I don't know what number he was, but he's definitely a good doctor, but not as good as the first one. So obviously, if you have 2 options, everyone would go to the first doctor. The problem was like this: like both doctors were Jews. No money here. Both doctors, yes, money, but we'll see. Both doctors here were Jews. The first doctor was very greedy. He liked money very much. So what did for money? These operations were not private operations. They were done for the hospital. They were all paid by the bituach. But the first doctor wanted to do operation only on Shabbos. Because on Shabbos, you get paid more. It's a doctor that works on Shabbos gets paid more. So he wants to, He could do the operation on Friday, no problem. They have All the operation rooms are free for him. He has no reason not to do the operation on Shabbos. But he wants to do it on Shabbos only for the sake of making more money. So then the question arose, does the sick person have the right to say, Pikuach Nefesh, I want to go to the best doctor. I want to get the best doctor. It's on Shabbos. That's his problem. That's not my problem. Or, no, this doctor is doing an Aveira. He's not allowed to treat him on Shabbos if he could do it on a weekday. So he has to go to the other doctor. Okay, now before I deal with this question, I want to deal with two other questions that are similar but very different. Question number one, someone had a growth in his body. He needed an operation. This question came to the Kollel, I think a year ago. He had a growth and he needed an operation to take it out. And they gave him an appointment for a week and a half, 2 weeks. One day later, he gets a call from a doctor. I have good news for you. I could do the operation for you in 2 days. Well, very good. Did he remember what's 2 days from now? Shabbos. He's allowed to do the operation on Shabbos or not? Why shouldn't he be allowed to do it on Shabbos? Because the halacha goes, Pikuach Nefesh is doicha Shabbos, Hazaris are raised in Meshubach. But there's another halacha, that if the sickness won't get any worse, so he can't do it on Shabbos. So here he claimed, like the doctors gave me an appointment in a week and a half, 2 weeks, never the doctors claim nothing will happen to me for the next 2 weeks. He asked the doctors, will I die? You won't die. Don't worry, if you'll die, we'll do it immediately. So he's not going to die. So does he have a heter to make the operation early on Shabbos or not? Here the Rav Zilberstein said, he said for 2 reasons, Vada, yes. The Ikar reason is, when we say that Pikuach Nefesh is not Doicha Shabbos, when one gets more severe, that means it's not getting more severe at all. There's no difference at all if you do it on Shabbos or do it the next day. I could bring an example with the operation here also. If you could do the operation on Shabbos or Motzi Shabbos, nothing will happen for 1 hour. But in a week and a half, when you have a growth inside of a body, the Rav said a growth is a bomb. It's growing all the time. Okay, it's true, he will not die. Most chances he will not die, but we don't know what's going on inside the body. It's growing all the time. It's definitely making his body weaker. It definitely has influence on his body. So once he's a choyle sheyesh basakana, and we know this is giving him, it's getting bigger all the time, sure it's Doicha Shabbos. And the Rav added another very interesting reasoning. Said usually on Shabbos, the Shabbos was his free day. When the doctor is calmer, he has more time, he will do a better job. Very interesting question, and this reasoning, right, that arose once, a long, long time ago, is a doctor allowed to smoke on Shabbos? He says, if I smoke, I'll take care of the patient much better, I'll be calmer. Like we know that the doctor, I forgot his name, that treated Rav Yoshiv when he came. I said before he treated him, the first thing he did was, he went swimming. Before he does, he has to swim. It helps him, the blood circulation, it helps him. Doctor said, I want to smoke. So he's allowed to smoke on Shabbos, so he'll be able to concentrate better, do the operation better. He's allowed to do it or not. So Rav Zolti Zechron Livracha said, no, you're not allowed to. Why not? Says, if we know for sure, you know exactly how many puffs you need. For Pekuach Nefesh, so do what you need, and it's Pekuach Nefesh. But no one knows exactly how much he has to smoke, and every puff he does, it's Chilul Shabbos D'Oraisa. So he has no right to begin, because he's going to be doing other puffs which are non-Pekuach Nefesh. Okay, the Rav Zilberstein body Rayefness from Yavamas, we won't get into it now. Rav Yoshiv said a different reason why it's not Doicha Shabbos. He said, the Mikar Din it is, but I want to ask this doctor a question. If this was your son, would you have to smoke also, or will you be able to concentrate? I think most doctors would say, if it's my son, I would treat him with no, I don't have to smoke for my son. The doctor has a chiyuv to put all those things aside and to treat every patient like his own son. So he said, if the doctor can't, he said, I can't, it's not my son, nothing I could do. So Fine. The very famous joke that a doctor had to go to a city, outside the city, so they called the eglon to take him. The eglon said on Shabbos, the eglon said, but I can't, I have to eat first. I have to eat chazir first. I need meat and not chazir. Eat a chazir. I have to eat some milk with it. Take milk with it also. I have to smoke it before I drive. Then this guy told his wife, look how many aveiros the rabbi are permitted and the rabbis aren't telling us. Rabbi Elisha said, Mika Ardin, if the doctor really, really knows that by smoking, who performed the operation better, but by not smoking, he won't be able to do it because it's permissible. But he's not allowed to do it because he has to treat him like his son. He has to gaber himself and treat his son like his own son, and he will see Yavsiyat Dishmaya. Another interesting case that came. A kidney patient had dialysis treatment. He had treatment every Sunday, Tuesday, and Thursday. One Shabbos, the doctor sees him. The doctor's on Shabbos. He asked him, "What are you doing here? Your appointment is on Sunday, not on Shabbos." He says, "Doctor, look at the calendar. Today's the 23rd of December. Tomorrow is my big day. Tomorrow I'm making a lot of money. If I'm in the hospital doing dialysis, I'll lose a lot of money. On 24th of December, he makes a lot of money. That's all the big sales." So he changed his appointment. He called the hospital to change his appointment to Shabbos instead of Sunday, so he can make a lot of money. So the doctor wants to know, is he allowed to treat him on Shabbos or not? Like dialysis is pikuach nefesh, but you could do it on Sunday also. So is Doich Shabbos or not? Okay, on one hand, dialysis, every day that he doesn't get a treatment, it gets worse. It's not like a permanent situation. It gets worse all the time. So maybe I could treat him in Shabbos. I spoke to a doctor once. He said, theoretically, if you'd have enough money and enough energy, do dialysis every day. But you'll kill the guy. Also finishes all his bank accounts. But every day his body is poisoned. So there is a pikuach nefesh doing on Shabbos. But the Rav said that since dialysis, he has a permanent basis, 3 times a week, Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday, and by changing it from Sunday to Shabbos, that won't make any change. And by doing a Shabbos, it's not a Shabbos instead of Sunday. So between Shabbos and the next treatment will be never 3 days. He's not gaining anything. He has a permanent basis of treatment. He has no right to change it to Shabbos. But the Rav said like this: if he canceled his appointment for Sunday, so he could do the dialysis now, or else he's going to die. It's pikuach nefesh. Not only that, he said even more. If the sick person, drove on Shabbos to the hospital for the treatment, you also let it do the dialysis. Why? To save him from Hilchos Shabbos. To drive is Hilchos Shabbos. But if it's for pikuach nefesh, there's no issue. He did it here, like the Dovid said before, it depends on your kavanah. But here his kavanah was for pikuach nefesh. He did it for pikuach nefesh. The reason he did pikuach nefesh is today, not tomorrow, is because of money. But the Maisi drove today because he knows the dialysis is pikuach nefesh. But if I don't do any treatment for him, I was machshir him on Hilchos Shabbos. So the Rav said, in this case also, I'm allowed to do dialysis to save him from pikuach nefesh, from Hilchos Shabbos. But if he walked to the hospital and he has an appointment for tomorrow, if I don't treat him today, I can treat him tomorrow, only he can be losing money. And the whole reason I want to do my whole excuse is because his sickness is getting worse. I have no excuse for doing the treatment today, because dialysis is called a permanent basis, and instead of today, we'll do it tomorrow. Obviously not. But as we said before, dialysis is a pikuach nefesh. So the long doctor says pikuach nefesh. But if for a sick person it's mutar, so it's mutar for me also.
What if the patient already drove to the hospital, having one and doing pikuach nefesh? Why should it make a difference whether he gets treated or not? That was the intention.
First of all, if I remember correctly, maybe I think the Rav said like what he said, driving back, that I think the Rav said that, but even without that, he'd read that it was an Isser. If the doctor said, I'm not allowed to treat you, he was almost taken. If someone drives to the hospital, if I decide this is Pikuach Nefesh, and it's not. Like in our case, it's really not a Pikuach Nefesh, if you could do it on Sunday. I can't decide, I'm going for Pikuach Nefesh. What do you mean you're doing? So what if you get? I can't decide it's Pikuach Nefesh if it's not. If Allah says you have to do it on Sunday, not today, you have no right to go on Shabbos. Yeah. Yeah, but since it was an Isser for him to go, it was an Isser for him to go. He had no right to go on Shabbos, so therefore it will be an Isser if he's not treated. Now let's go back to the first question. We just heard now a few different examples of when you could do on Shabbos and you can't do on Shabbos. Our first question was when the doctor could treat patient on Friday, he has no reason not, and the doctor wants to treat him on Shabbos only because on Shabbos he makes more money. So is the patient allowed to go to this doctor, or he has to go to the doctor which is not as good? Okay, so obviously if the second doctor is not a good doctor, is not a specialist, or is not such experienced, for sure, Pikuach Nefesh is doich everything. Our whole question is if the first doctor is the number one expert, and the second doctor is good, very good doctor, but is not number one. So the Rav said, based on Rav, that he's not allowed to go to the first doctor. This is based on a very, very interesting yisod of Rav Elyashiv. Rav Elyashiv said like this: a sick man is mechuyav to get good treatment, to get very good treatment, but there's no chiyuv to get the best treatment. You have to get the very good. You don't need the best. We don't go on perfect thing. And the Rav Zurstein brought a very interesting raya for this from Parashat Shavua that we just read 2 weeks ago. Moshe Rabbeinu was born, and Yocheved put Moshe Rabbeinu in the Nile. She put him in a teva. The teva was made out of, the Gemara said, the Torah said, Atzei Goifer. It wasn't very strong wood. It wasn't strong wood. The Gemara asks, why didn't she use stronger wood? Would it protect him better? The Gemara answers two answers. Answer number one, this dafka is better. But answer number two, tzaddikim chasim al mamonon. Tzaddikim chaval on the money. What does this mean? Chaval on the money? It's Pikuach Nefesh. It's going to... The Maharsha says, for sure, this teiva also protected him. There was no question of dying. The question was, should she do the better? She use better wood. And this, the Gemara says, we don't have a chiyuv to do the best. So based on this, Rav Elyashiv says, there's no chiyuv to do the best. Of course, if you could, why not? To do the very good doctor, avadai. Okay, let's go back to here. The first doctor is treating him be'isur. He has no heter to treat him on Shabbos. If he could treat him on Friday, and he's delaying it to Shabbos only because to make money, there's no heter. The sick person, by going to him on Shabbos, is machshir be'isur. So it's better to go to the second doctor, which is not as good. Also, it's a very good doctor, and I'll be saving the first doctor in Chilul Shabbos. The Rav, of course, added another svar, which is very famous, that the Zgula of Shabbos is also could cure. Like Gemara says, Shabbos imilizoik, refer Krava. What does that mean? That Shabbos also cures. Shabbos also a cure. And the famous word of Sfas Emes. They asked, Sfas Emes, are you allowed to do Rafua Zgulit on Shabbos? They do Chilul Shabbos, Rafua Zgulit. There's regular conventional medicine, and there's a Zgula. I could get a Kamiya, different things of Zgula. Sfas Emes said, you want a Zgula? I have the best Zgula for you. Do what the Torah says, that's the best gula. Mitzvahs and Torah mitzvahs also cures, definitely cures. Basically, I want to say a very, very some interesting story that came up once, a long time ago, like 6 years ago. There was a sick person that the Bris Rav told him, you have to eat on Yom Kippur. And the doctor told him, after the Bris Rav told him this, the doctor told him, don't eat on Yom Kippur, you'll be fine. You don't have to eat Yom Kippur, you'll be fine. the brisk Rav came to the doctor. It was a from doctor. And why are you telling him this? I told him to eat. How are you telling him not to eat? Doctor said, it's not a sakana. He won't die. Brisk Rav told him, okay, I know he's not going to die now. It wasn't an immediate sakana. But in this sickness, by not eating now will make him weaker and could make him die a little bit earlier. It could make him sicker in like 10 years, 20 years from now. Could you promise me that he'll stay the same, stay in strength, and over 10, 20 years also? The doctor told him, okay, this is a very famous yesod of brisk Rav. We don't look only now. Pikuach nefesh means also what's going to happen in 10, 20 years from now also. But the doctor answered him, you're right. I thought of that. I already heard this from you once. But this person is a very from Yid. I don't know, it wasn't Shmuel Rozovsky, but if we tell him, you have to eat Yom Kippur, that will depress him onto himself. That means he'll know he's a Chol HaShesh B'Sakana. The Rav said once, it was a very interesting story, the Rav Werner, Av Beit Din of Tel Aviv. He was very sick. Something happened to him. Took him to the hospital. Came to the hospital, and the doctor told him. The doctor checked him. Said, "Listen, I could treat you here, but let's go to the hospital anyway." Go to the hospital. Said, "What are you doing with me?" "No, everything is fine. We're just checking you up a little bit." They put him to sleep. What's this room? It's nothing. It's just regular procedure in the hospital. Put you to sleep. We treat you a little bit. Afterward, okay, he was Chol HaShesh B'Sakana. After the Rav Werner told the doctor, I knew from the first minute you're lying to me. But what kept me alive was your lies. Now, when you tell a sick person that he's going to die, that could kill him. So that the doctor, he's telling him, you're fine, that could save him. Thinking good could also save a person's life. But I didn't get it by telling a person that you could fast in Yom Kippur, that unto itself could save someone's life. What? He agreed. Yeah. That's not easy to be scruv. Yeah. Very not easy. I don't recall any story that someone be to be scruv. Now, let's go to another story, similar but obviously different. Someone wants to mention before, there's something called, the doctor mentioned, the Rav mentioned, something in Israel called Mada, Magen David Adom, that's an ambulance station. They have ambulances there, and whenever someone has to go to the hospital, they call them up, and they send an ambulance to take the person to the hospital. And over there, they also treat people over there also. Emergency cases, they treat people there also. And as someone worked in Mada, and he had two choices. He could work either on weekdays, or he could work on Shabbos. He wanted to work on Shabbos. Why? Money. He needed a lot of money. He was a big debt and needed money. This question could be asked on doctor also. Doctor could work on a weekday, could work on a Shabbos. He wants to work on Shabbos because he wants to make more money. Now, if this question would be in a chutz la'aretz, the answer would be avadai. If maybe where the majority of patients are going, so avadai not. The Moshe Feinstein says that the Rav mentioned this tshuva. It's the same tshuva. He says that every doctor has to change his schedule to a weekday, because to do Chilul Shabbos for a non-Jew is very not lechatchila. The Rav Zibichin was asked a few hours ago, what's the gather of Eva? What Eva am I allowed to do? But for sure, it's only Eva. It's not a lechatchila at all. It's a very, very big diavad to do melach on Shabbos for a non-Jew. But the question was in Israel. At Israel, all the patients, alavai all, but majority of the patients are Jewish. So is he allowed to work Dafkan Shabbos so he can make more money? Now, what's the question? On one hand, why not? Like, if I don't work on Shabbos, someone else will work on Shabbos. It's not like the first case, the previous case when the doctor, If you want to work on Shabbos, you would work on Friday. There's no need to work on Friday, on Shabbos. But in our case, someone has to work on Shabbos in every hospital. Someone has to be on Shabbos in Magen David Adom, in the ambulance corps. So why shouldn't it be me? Why shouldn't I gain some money out of it? See, I want to go into a little bit into the topic that HaRav mentioned before also, the topic of kavana. The Gemara deals, and the Shulchan Aruch brings it also, that a baby drowned, fell into the sea, and I could save him. By saving him, I could throw a net, and I'll be making a lot of money. Right next to this baby is a lot of salmon, very high quality salmon. The Gemara says, no problem. I could save him. Even if on the side I'll be gaining other things, no problem. Of course, the Mishnah Berurah says I can if I take a bigger net to get more fish. That's a vadi yisur gomer. But on the same net, same fishing, and take the baby and getting other fish, no problem at all. But what happens if my kavana is also to save the baby and also for the fish? So the Mishnah Berurah writes down that most Rishonim say permissible. My kavana is also for the baby, so I have a kavana for fish also. What's the problem? It's not so glad. It's not the best thing to do, but the Mishnah Berurah brings also other opinions that it's a problem. By doing this, the chashash iser. Now let's go further on. There's another Mishnah, but this is Shin Kaf Chet. There's another Mishnah Berurah, Shin Tet Zayin. Over here, it deals with catching a snake on Shabbos. Poisonous snake, it's very dangerous. The halacha is, if it's a dangerous snake, it could kill people. For sure, you could catch it on Shabbos. But what happens if he's catching the snake, but not to save people? He's doing it only for one reason. He wants the nusiv of the snake. He doesn't want to save anyone. He's doing it only to save for the nusiv from the snake, or wants the skin of the snake, very valuable. He's not doing it for pekuach nefesh. The Mishnah Berurah says, Efshar, he's chayav. He brings the Gemara in Pesachim, that lo efshar v'kam echaven, efshar, it's an itzur. So let's go back to our case. He's working in the ambulance, but only for money. Is he allowed to do it or not? Okay, before I say the difference between this case and this case, between the two cases, I say a very interesting story that the Rav likes saying a lot. When we bake matzos for Pesach, everything has to be done l'shem matzos mitzvah. They have notes l'shem matzos mitzvah, l'shem matzos mitzvah. If you do it you bake matzos for other reasons, like Gemara, for example, I want to make lachmei toida, so it's possible. Someone did matzos, and he said l'shem matzos mitzvah, l'shem mas achnosa. No, I'm doing it for matzos and for income tax. They asked him, what do you mean here? What do you mean? I need money. If I wouldn't need money, I would bake matzos. I would sit down and learn. I would go to Yachikala. I want to bake matzos. So are matzos kosher or not? Chaser b'kavana. So the Rav said, no problem at all. He's doing when we say that a kavana is a problem, that's when I'm doing two acts. It could be one act, but I have two totzaot. I have two things came out of it. I fished a baby and I fished fish. I got a snake. I got a skin also. But here, I'm making matzahs. Why am I doing matzahs? Because I want to make matzahs. Why am I making matzahs? Because I want to make money. Same thing here also. Why is he working on Shabbos? Pekuach nefesh. As I've said, everyone knows pekuach nefesh. Why do you want to choose Shabbos? Because I want to make money. But the pekuach nefesh I'm doing, it's only because of pekuach nefesh. I'll give a case where it'll be usher. If the driver says he wants to work on Shabbos, why? Because he has a shalom zocher. His sister gave birth to a baby boy, and he has a shalom zocher in a different area of the city. He says, maybe if I'll be working on Shabbos, maybe someone I'll get a call from that neighborhood, and I'll get she lives next to a hospital. I get a call, I'll take it to the hospital, and I'll go to shalom zocher. Here, the driving itself is for two reasons. So here will be a problem with the Mishnah Berurah. Okay, I want to finish with a word that connects in Inyanei Doyoima, Masechet Shavuos, Yarche Kala, and we'll see what else. We'll soon see if it works all together. One minute. Doctors. There's a bracha that everyone says around 6 times a day. Asher Yotzer. Asher Yotzer, we say it a lot of times. There's a shoot min hashemayim. One of Baalei Tosafot asked HaKadosh Baruch Hu. He asked a lot of questions in the dream. Shalas Chalam. One of Baalei Tosafot, Shalas Chalam, and he asked him, do we have to say Asher Yotzer every time we go to the bathroom, or it's enough once a day? He told him, this you could ask any doctor here. I'm just going to tell you what's the question. He told him, every Asher Yotzer is a goimel. Look at this. If you don't do the dialysis, if your body doesn't work, you're going to die. We said Asher Yotzer. Now, Asher Yotzer finishes with the words, Mafli Lasos. What does the words Mafli Lasot mean? Mafli is a wonder. What is Mafli? Where's the wonder in the man's body? So Shulchan Aruch says a few explanations. One explanation is that every body is hollow, he has air inside of him, and basically all the air should come out. The air will come out, the man will die, and there's a big miracle. Everything stays inside of him. Oh, wonder. Mafli Lasos. The Ramah says another explanation. That every man he has 2 parts. There's the Gashmi part, the physical part of the body, and there's the Neshama, the Ruach, the Neshama, the spiritual part of the body. To have spiritual together with physical, that's a wonder. The spiritual wants to, all the time, wants to one thing, to go to Shemayim. The physical wants to enjoy himself. They're together, it's a pella, a wonder. Now, we have an interesting point. There's a halacha that says like this. Every bracha has to begin with the words Baruch Atah Hashem. Doesn't begin with the words Baruch Atah Hashem, that's not a bracha. Unless it's Samoch L'chaverta, if a bracha comes after another bracha, and the other bracha finishes with the words Baruch Atah Hashem, so those words go on the next bracha also. One of the examples for this rule is Elokai Neshama and Asher Yotzer. Elokai Neshama begins Elokai Neshama doesn't begin with Baruch Atah Hashem, Shebarta Neshama. Elokai Neshama. Why does it begin with Baruch? Because it comes right after Asher Yotzer, Baruch Atah Hashem, Rafeh Chabasam Efil Lasos. Elokai Neshama discusses only the spiritual part, the Neshama, and the Tahira, it's holy, it's pure. You'll take it back from you one day, you hope it'll be pure. I hope all this Surim will do the job, it will come back to be pure. Asher Yotzer deals only with the physical part. Which words connect Asher Yotzer and Elokai Neshama? Roif Chabasar or Mafli Lasos. The Pele, which is connecting the physical and the spiritual part, those words are connecting Asher Yotzer and Elokai Neshama. Others are footnotes says, and he also adds, when he will say that the spiritual and the physical part together forms a human being, the Gemara says, Chazal say, what differs a human being from an animal? Ruach melalala, the speech. Now, where do we see the speech? Where does the speech come in? We see the koyach of the dibur. Where do we see it? In the Dorim and Shavuos. And it's an oath. He's chayv to do it. He doesn't do it. We go into Shavuos. A lot of Shavuos, he gets malchus. He only said, I swear to eat this, I'm going to eat it. So it's not to eat it, and I did eat it. He gets malchus. What did he do? You only talked. Not only talking, that's the man. The Gemara said, Adam lo yulad, which amal peh. A man was created to talk. Now, the Gemara even asked, to talk what? To talk stam things or talk divrei Torah? Tzedek to the Baron. There's a pasuk that says to talk. But it was obvious that a man was built to talk, because that's the only thing that differs him from the animal. Now the Rambam that discusses the halachas of Nedarim and Shavuos. What's the Rambam called? Hafla. There was someone. I just want to say. I have to learn from the story. I just want to finish, but before I finish, interesting story. Rav Ginochovsky was very, very known. He once gave a shir, and he told He told the Bocher, please bring Rambam Nidorim. Rambam Nidorim. Now the Bocher assumed where's Nidorim, and then the Gemara Nidorim is in Seder Noshim. So he assumed Nidorim is a Rambam Noshim. So he brought Rambam Noshim. Now what do? You don't want to embarrass the Bocher, so what do? Tell him you made a mistake before everyone? It's not very nice. So Rav Genuch said, I made a mistake. I don't need Rambam Nidorim, I need Rambam Haflo. Okay, now let's go back to what Derech Kala. Everyone here knows what America was like 110 years ago. Why I say 110 years ago? Because that's when my grandfather came to America. He went to the Lunan Yeshiva. The only yeshiva he could learn in was a conservative yeshiva in Seattle. Some people know it, but so he did not go there, Baruch Hashem. He preferred not to learn in yeshiva. Actually, his father-in-law told him, my great-grandfather, better not to learn than to learn in a conservative yeshiva. Baruch Hashem, he saved him. He didn't learn. He learned in Europe, but when he came to America, he couldn't learn anymore. But Baruch Hashem, he stayed an Orthodox Jew. And he was able to keep Shabbos again. Everyone knows the people who come to, the boats came to America, the very famous minhag, they throw the tefillin overboard. Hashem Yishmor. Parshat Shavua, you mentioned when Baron Kotler wanted to know where to go to America or to go to Eretz Yisrael. He did a shelas Goral Agra, and he told them, "Vayam Hashem al Aaron lechel Moshe and Midbar, go to Moshe Feinstein, the spiritual desert." Parshat Shavua also. That was good old days, bad old days actually. People call it the Golden Medina, and the Frum Jews called it a Treifa Medina. America was a physical place, Gashmi. We see today, from the past, I don't know how many years, I don't know exactly when things changed, so much Torah in the States, so many yeshivas, so much cheshkas Torah. You see people learning for 10 hours, and they stay for another hour, and they're not even looking at the watches. Such cheshkas Torah. This is, now we're taking all the spiritual Torah, bringing it into America. This is not a pella, it's a pile plois. It's bringing in there so much Torah, so much cheshkas Torah. Word exact, pile plois. I want to give a bracha to everyone here. B'schus all the cheshkas Torah, Nefesh v'Torah, we will be zoichet to the pasuk. Ki meitzeischa me'eretz Mitzrayim, arecha niflois.